And in this course of contemplation, we have learned a lot about life. We have started to understand that we need to re-look at everything entirely. At some point in our lives, there will come a time when we need to be born again to life. Our first birth is only where it started for us. It is incredible how everything in the world and the universe has two parts to it, including ourselves. Our task in this life is to emerge from the physical into the spiritual, from form to no form, from the egoic to the divine that is it within us all. But it is only known deeply later on in life. This is what we must understand. We are born operating from an entirely physical perspective. When we become more psychological, we eventually become more emotional. And that is only when the body allows. That is only when it is mature enough to contain it. So then when the mind and emotions allow, we will become more spiritual. No one knows exactly what our spiritual selves entail. We don't know where they come from or where they go, but we know that they are there, all of us. Eventually, we know that they are there. That is because it takes time to get still enough and equipped enough to comprehend its presence. One thing we do know in the first half of life is that we are not capable of bearing the burden of being an emotional being. We learn that capability. We master self-regulation only when we are ready. Perhaps you know adult children yourself today. They're a good example of emergence and non-emergence of a higher self. These people have not yet let go of childhood. They are getting their pleasure from acting and behaving like children because that's exactly how they got what they wanted as a child. Growing up is as much neurological as it is psychological, emotional, and spiritual. Contemplation is actually seeing this reality exactly the way it is. That is why we teach people how to practice contemplation, to see again. We do not see things as they are, but rather we see them as we want to see them. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So contemplation is really about being able to see things exactly the way they are, in their true nature, without our personality, without our ego defense mechanisms clouding everything, without clouded judgment. We can see and then appreciate life exactly as it is. What many people fail to realize as mature adults is that the world is a good place. Let's keep it simple. These people watch the news. They hear negative stories day after day. They start to believe that it's a bad morning. Even when people tell them that it's a good morning, all morning long, they do not hear it. They cannot hear it. They have already been believing that it is a bad morning for years, and this becomes their reality. And at the center of healing and life transformation in South Africa, we get many people who come in and do not even realize the state of themselves or others or the world. They see it all as bad. And what you see through the stained glass windows of your soul, which are your eyes, is what you will experience inside. As you see, so shall you be. So what we see with our eyes is all based on perception. You must understand this. You must constantly strive to re-question everything you believe as a mature adult. This is daily practice, and it is called self-regulation. Now, self-regulation is the future of medicine and mindfulness. It is something that should be practiced at school level first. It should be taught to our children, who are more confused as young adults today than any other young adults have ever been before in history. They're depressed. They believe what they hear their parents saying. They believe what they hear their teachers say. By the time we are adults, we have very little chance at being positive. We are always looking for danger. This is why most people are running on the survival mind today. They are running around the world like monkeys and calling it success. People glorify busy and glorify working 17 hours a day on things that probably do not really matter, oftentimes. So yes, we are going backwards in many ways, but we do not realize it. That is the problem. That's the turnaround we need. The realization. We need it to dawn. We think we are going forwards at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but people in reality are sick, angry, lonely, and depressed. They are confused because they're not becoming happy after being busy. Not happy at all. They're becoming depressed. They're becoming disillusioned at what they see in the world and what they see and feel in their hearts. And over time, they cannot tell the difference between a truth and a lie. And this is where the work of contemplation can come in. It helps people see things exactly the way they are. So it's about seeing and then believing what really is. If I tell you that life is good, you may start to argue and formulate a list of how many negative things you can find that are wrong in the world. But I can tell you now, with a little bit of contemplation and a little bit of time, that you will see one day that the world is actually a good place. You will see that the book of Genesis was right. Now, in the book of Genesis, you will see what God said to you in the very beginning of time. He says it was good 5 times, in a very few sentences in the beginning of the Bible. People say they don't believe what the Bible says anymore, like they don't believe the world is good anymore. But all they need to do is read the first few lines of the Torah to understand what life is really about. It says it all plainly and as clearly as daylight. So God said that the light was good. Can you see that? In the beginning, God named the water and the oceans good. He saw that it was good. Can you see that? God made fruit-bearing trees of all sorts. God saw that it was good. But do you see that when you see fruit-bearing trees? God made light and dark and saw that it was good. God made every kind and species of flying bird and saw that it was good. You made cattle of every kind and every sort of reptile and bug that you can imagine and saw that it was good. Do you see this? Do you see this? It is important for you to know what you see or don't see, especially if life is not working out for you the way you want it to work out. On the last of these first days, God looked over everything He made and said that it was good, so very good. And that was written down as day 6. Now today, 14 billion years later, or 14 billion giga-annums later, as they say in science, we have forgotten the very nature of life. We can't see it. To go back to the beginning is a wise decision for you to make if you are now not coping. If life is not working for you, go back to the beginning and take another look. You don't need to change anything. You don't even need to change yourself. All you really need to do is see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower. All you need to do is see how good, how very good life is.